Hello, everyone. I want you to imagine not sleeping for 2 nights and still being expected to perform at your peak. Now I want you to imagine doing it for 9 nights without sleep. It was the ninth night of me racing at Race Across America that my legs were screaming in pain. My mind was hallucinating. That was the first time I felt that quitting is not failure, it is logical. That's me, Lieutenant Colonel Bharat Pannu. I'm an Indian Army officer. During this journey, somehow I picked up ultra cycling events. The reason was not that I was strongest. There was a curiosity to find the limits of the mind when it breaks. I was drawn towards cycling and army in my childhood. Father was the reason for the first one, and freedom was the reason for the second. Over the period of over a few years, I've done a lot of cycling events. I've cycled a lot in India, across various countries, challenged my limits, set some records. It was a rise, quiet and steady, like the motto of this event today. But all these events over the period of years didn't prepare me for something. I'm honestly speaking, it didn't prepare me for something which was coming next to me. It was Race Across America. In short, RAM. RAM is an ultra cycling endurance event of about 5,000 kilometers, starting at the Pacific coast to the Atlantic coast in the USA. Since its inception in 1982, only about 388 cyclists have successfully completed this event in the time limit. The time limit is 12 days, that is 288 hours. It comes roughly about 420 plus kilometers every single day on average. Once the clock starts at the start point, it only stops at the finish point. RAM is the toughest individual time trial race. Everything is on the road, on the go. There is a team of crew members who support you day and night so that the cyclist can only focus on cycling. The race moves across 4 time zones in the US. It crosses Sonoran and Mojave Desert. It crosses 3 mountain ranges, Sierra, Appalachians, and the Rockies, and the endless plains. And all this is happening with the bare minimum possible sleep. I want to mention that in 2024 attempt of mine at Race Across America, I didn't sleep for a couple of days. I slept for about 90 minutes on few of the days, and the balance days, I was lucky enough to sleep for about 180 minutes on a go. That was the intensity. Keeping the aim in mind to finish the race before the clock stops at the end of 12 days, I was riding about 20 plus kilometers every day on average. So this story is not about cycling actually. It is a story about what happens beyond the limits of your mind when it breaks. I was on a quest to check this. People often ask me, what goes in your mind when you are cycling? And my reply, actually, the race is not on the road, it is in the mind. There are a lot of things going in the mind what I'm achieving by this. Is it actually worth it? How many sunrises and sunsets I'll be seeing more sitting on the same saddle? Because the race is long. And actually there is no answer to it. But there is another voice which comes from inside, that I'll not quit. No point I'll be quitting. And that is the energy which keeps me moving. And at some point, it becomes purpose over passion. I want to mention, despite all this, the pain and discomfort is still there. It has not vanished. Somehow, I tend to forget the pain, because I start asking myself, how will I move along with this? Because there is no other option. How will I move along with this? So the pain is still there, but it stops mattering to me. I keep moving, and that's it. It's not that the race has got easier, but somehow, at some point of time, I have become more stronger than the struggle itself. That's me standing at the finish point of Race Across America with my team. There were a lot of learnings during this journey of mine at Race Across America. But I'll mention here the five ones which actually made a difference. 5,000 kilometers. Riding 5,000 kilometers isn't easy. It is paralyzing. When I used to think how much is the distance remaining, I used to just freeze, and it seemed impossible. At that point of time, I changed the question. And I just focused on how many kilometers are remaining for the next time station. Sometimes it was 80 kilometers, sometimes it was 10. And the moment I reduced the problem, the fear faded away. And that's how I did the 5,000 kilometers. Our plan was perfect. There were a lot of months of preparations, I'll say years of preparation which had gone into the event. The nutrition was perfect. The bikes, heart rate zones, power zones, there was backup for everything. But on the race day, when the race started, on day one itself, when I was out on the road along with the team, my bike shifter lever malfunctioned. The temperatures were higher than expected. The rear tire of my support vehicle bursted. So what was the solution? Adapt, and just adapt and keep moving towards the goal without losing the sight. This happens in real life also. We make a plan. We tend to deviate from it due to various reasons. The timelines are not met. Then some unexpected hurdles come on the way. So what do? The real question there will be, did we adapt well and kept moving without giving up? And that's what I did. Third, consistency. While I was doing the race, there were riders in the initial days, 1 or 2. There were riders stronger than me who surpassed me. It was daunting. It was intimidating. As the days passed, day 4/5, I got to know that some of the riders have disappeared who crossed me. The reason was pacing mistakes, injuries, burnout, and maybe more. So it was not that I was exceptional. The reason was that I was consistent. I held my horses. I maintained the rhythm. I kept moving. In ultra-endurance races like RAM or any other ultra-endurance events, it is not the time which actually matters. It is the energy which is inside you matters. Time never finishes, but if your energy finishes, time becomes irrelevant. On day 6 of my race across America, my legs were fine. The temperatures were okay. My nutrition was to the point. Still, there was something amiss. It was my mind. It was giving up. There were several questions running around in my mind. Let's take a break. It's too much. I was just finding reasons to get off the bike. And it was that moment when I realized fatigue is not physical first, it is mental. My mind was playing with me. It was giving me reasons to stop. It was continuously whispering to me. And if I had actually listened to it long enough, then probably I would not have been a finisher. And the learning for me was that the mind gives up first, then your body. On day 10th of me racing, my mind was hallucinating. I was seeing things on ground which were actually not there. At a moment, I saw that somebody is running along with me. And at that time, I realized my mind is not going to support me anymore. And my team came up. They stood up at that point of time. They took care of my nutrition. They were taking care of all these aspects earlier also, but now they were the boss. They took care of my nutrition, my riding, my stops, my sleep, everything. They were in charge now. I learned there, strength is not actually pushing harder every time. Sometimes, strength is letting go and let the people who you trust take things into control. Success is never an individual achievement. It is a collective effort, collective team effort to reach the finish line and succeed as a team. Everybody's life is unique. And everyone doesn't have to do RAM to actually feel what I had gone through. Your race in life might be your career, your studies, your relationship, or an battle which nobody else can see. I would like to share my experience while I was training. I always used to feel that others are more stronger than me, they are faster than me. But I didn't used to see that at what point I have started training, and probably they must have been training much more than me, or earlier than me. So the comparison was actually wrong, because probably my beginning was their middle. I started ultra cycling, or to be more clear, competitive cycling at the age of 37. My first start line was in Goa, in India, in the year 2017. I had no sporting background earlier, not in school, not in college, but somehow my army life inclined me towards sports. And when people tend to slow down in their life, the entropy is lessened. At that point of time, it was my beginning. We generally see the success. We don't see the challenges which must have gone behind that success. I was in US in year 2019, 20 days before the start of my first attempt at race across America. I was on a training ride. I met with a minor accident. I broke my collarbone, right collarbone, into 3 pieces. Before even the start of the race, I was out of it. It took 3 months of healing, recovery. It was conservative. After that, 2 months of training, and I was at another start line. It was the start line of a Guinness Book of World Record attempt from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. It was 3,600 kilometers done in 8 days and 9 hours. That was a success not to prove to the world what I was. It was to heal something inside. It was a battle which I won with myself. I've done a lot of cycling. Probably I've ridden more than the car which I owe right now. It is probably lakh plus kilometer or 1.5 lakh kilometers. There was a question in mind, or with the aim which I started my cycling, that was to check my limits. But in this journey, in this complete journey, I discovered that joy is in planning, it is in execution, and it is in overcoming the challenges which I faced during the journey. And that was my euphoria, which I have learned. That was the most powerful learning, that euphoria is in the journey. Like in Bollywood movies, the ending always matters. Whatever the struggle is, whatever the toughness is during the journey, but we want it should be a happy ending. And so it's all smiles after my race across America attempt. I wish you all the best in all your endeavors, and probably all the steps in your journey are very joyful. Thank you.